Welcome everybody. Welcome to our sustainability seminar. This is the first in a series of 5 seminars that we are running this week to give more information about our sustainability report, which we've just published, and be very transparent about all the things we're doing, all the things we're still working on, and all of the pledges that we'd like to make going forward. I'm delighted to be joined in this session by Lisa Oxenham, who is an amazing beauty journalist, and I'll let her tell you a little bit about all the amazing work she's done as a beauty editor. And so Lisa, do you want to just give a brief introduction to you?
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Laura. So I'm Lisa Oxenham, the Beauty and Style Director of Marie Claire. I've worked in journalism for the last 15 to 20 years, a long, long time. And I'm actually so pleased to be here today because I'm very pro eco-ethical practices, and I'm trying to push the boundaries of what's possible to be positive and kind to the planet as much as possible in the beauty industry, because we all have to remember that small collective actions can become very powerful global movements. And I'm so in awe of what Evolve is spearheading, and this sustainability report and sharing their journey is so impressive. And it's really, really useful. So hopefully it's going to be really practical for all of you. And I'm so excited to dive into this now so that we can all understand this area better and we can go out to positively make a difference. So I'll just start asking the questions now. So Laura, the beauty industry produces enormous amounts of waste, chemicals and carbon, both directly and indirectly through its supply chain. Can you give us a snapshot of where the industry is right now, please?
Yes, so we've covered this in our report, but what we've found is that the beauty industry has made huge strides in the last 10, 15 years since I've been in the industry, but we still feel that it needs to do more in many different areas. So as you've already mentioned carbon, you've mentioned waste, and the other important one is biodiversity as well, and also ethical labour standards and the ingredients that go into the product. So those 5 areas are what we have focused on when we've thought about our impact. And in our report, what we've done is we've laid out where we think the beauty industry should be focusing. And what we want to do as a business is to try and be at the forefront of that movement to try and show what's possible with Evolve Beauty. So I set up Evolve 11 years ago, really to create a green and natural and organic alternative for people, to be able to integrate those values into their everyday lives in a really simple and easy way. And that's what we've always been about. And what we're trying to do now is to take that as far as we can. So as new technologies, as new methodologies and new packaging and ingredients come on board, we want to make sure we're using all of those and sort of continuing to evolve ourselves into the future to show, how we can be as green and clean as possible. So I wanted to show you our pillars because the way we've structured our thinking about our impact is about 5 pillars. So in the center is really this idea about sustainability and taking it even beyond being sustainable, which is doing no harm, and towards being regenerative, which is where we actually try and give back and become a positive impact business. And also about being really, really transparent about what we're doing. We're not perfect. We're just on this journey, but we want to take you with us on the journey. And that's one of the reasons that we're doing these seminars, because we want to share this with you, get your feedback, get your questions and debate really the right thing to do in all of these areas. So we've divided our impact, which is end-to-end across our supply chain, across lots of different areas. So carbon is one important area that we've looked at. Waste, so the beauty industry, with all of the packaging it uses, has a big impact on the amount of waste that's produced, and whether or not that then is recyclable is really, really important. Clean chemistry, which is the idea that the chemicals that go into products, of course, everything's a chemical, whether it's natural or not, but the chemicals that go into products go onto people's skin, they go into their bodies, and they also go into our ecosystem. The water ecosystem is really, really important, the oceans, but then, the land ecosystems as well. So making sure we use clean ingredients wherever we can. Protecting biodiversity. So this is everything to do with the ingredients that we use and where they come from and the impact of those when they're grown and harvested. And then also our fifth area is about being kind to all, whether that's kind to people, kind to animals as well, and making sure that we're treating everybody fairly and respectfully and kindly. So those are the areas that we've covered. So Lisa, would you like to talk about those in general? Would you like me to dive into one of those?
Yeah, could we just dive into a couple of things before we start on your impact values? Could you just, so your long-term ambition is to move beyond being sustainable, like you said, and to become regenerative as a business. Can you just explain a bit about what that means, please?
Yes, so regenerative is a word that started being talked about in the last sort of 5 years or so in the sustainability community. And what it means is that you're moving beyond having a zero impact. So being sustainable is all about having zero impact in all of these areas and other areas as well, depending on the business and sort of how it affects the planet. But if you want to go beyond being sustainable, to actually create a positive impact, you need to think about, well, how can we give back to the ecosystems? How can we create, actually help to reduce the amount of carbon that's created? How can we actually reduce the amount of waste that's created? So what are the projects that we can support? What are the things we can do to reduce our own impact? And then how can we then actually help to be positive as a brand? Because I very much feel that when you have an ethical brand, it's a really brilliant opportunity to hardwire these values into the actual product. So we're not always thinking about, how we can do extra things. It's actually the goodness is actually involved in the actual product that we make. And that's why I set up an ethical business, because I can create a business that's thriving and successful, but at the same time it can have a beneficial impact on people, and that gets me really excited.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's brilliant. And also, can you just tell us a little bit about sustainable development goals and what that means as well, just so that we've got a clear picture at the beginning?
Yeah, so there's a slide a little bit further on in this pack that I might just show you now, because it's relevant to that question. So what we've done when we've thought about our values is to think about the sustainable development goals, because these have been established at a global level to structure what everyone is working towards to try and make us more sustainable on the planet. We've picked a certain set of them that we think that our impact measures will help. So normally people say pick 3, but actually we ended up picking 9 because we can see that our impact spans quite a few different areas. So we want to make sure that we've sort of shown how that all maps together. So you can see the color coding shows that 4 of them actually relate to being kind to all, and 2 of them relate to clean chemistry. And then you've got the biodiversity, zero carbon maps to climate action, and then the waste maps to responsible consumption. So we tried to put that into context just so that people understand that we are sort of working with an established framework. We're not just making it all up as we go along.
Yeah. So normally a company would pick 3 of those sustainable development goals.
Yeah, that's what I was advised. I've been doing a leadership development course and they said pick 3. And I said, well, we're doing 9 actually. And they went, okay. But yeah.
Okay, brilliant. So if we talk about zero carbon, first of all, that would be amazing. So what does it mean to be zero carbon? And you've spoken about climate positive already, but to be zero carbon, what does that mean?
Yes, I'm just going to go back to that part of our presentation to show you. So just honing in on zero carbon. So what we're trying to do is to become carbon neutral and eventually climate positive. So we're having an in-depth dive on this topic on Thursday with the consultants and advisors that we've worked with to completely map this out. So if you have lots of detailed questions, we can talk about it on Thursday, but just giving you a high level overview of what we've done.
Yeah.
carbon impact is divided into different scopes, whether it's created directly through what you do or whether it's created by your whole supply chain. Because of course our supply chain starts with when the ingredients are grown, and it goes all the way through to when the packaging is hopefully recycled. So we've measured our direct impacts and part of our indirect impacts. We've measured the indirect impacts relating to our business operations, so when people commute to our studio or they travel for work or anything like that, and also the packaging, so the packaging coming to us and any carbon that's created in the production of it. And what we want to do next is to map all of the impact of the ingredients being grown and then being transported to us. And that was beyond what we had the time scale to do this year, because we have over 180 ingredients to map. So we're going to be doing that next. Well, no, we didn't do it last year. We're going to be doing that in 2021 and this year. And so hopefully our carbon impact at the end of this year will include all of our carbon. And what we've then done is we've worked with a company called Earthly. So we're trying to reduce our impact in lots of different ways, and then we're going to offset the remaining carbon that we've measured. So this year we've worked with Earthly, and there's a project that they have in the Amazon rainforest. And I love the Amazon rainforest. I visited there, and the project that they have there is stopping certain deforestation from happening, which has a huge carbon impact. So I think it's a great project because it has a carbon saving, but it also is fantastic because it helps with biodiversity and regeneration in a really, really important and valuable part of the planet. Yeah. Some of the things we've done so far to reduce our impact are things like moving all of our energy to wind power at the studio. And trying to source as much of our packaging as possible from the EU or the UK. So we're up to 60% sourced from the EU and the UK at the moment. And we're trying to increase the amount that's sourced locally. And this coming 12 months, we're going to do more things. So one of the big things is we're looking to switch from wood paper to grass paper cartons. And that will help to save carbon emissions. So by the end of this year, we hope to get a completely positive, climate positive business and supply chain.
That's so amazing. And also, can you just tell us a bit about how using organic ingredients help to be zero carbon compared to conventional farming?
Yeah, so we've got lots of detailed research and references on that in the report, but the basic idea is that organic farming is a less carbon intensive process. There are fewer pesticides used in that process, and there's lots of data that's been published by the Soil Association about how it's a sort of a more beneficial way of farming, and it reduces carbon and it improves the soil quality as well. So it helps to sequester more carbon in the soil.
Yeah, okay, brilliant. And then on to zero waste then. So zero waste means to reduce all waste to zero and become circular as a business. Now you've partnered with Repurpose Global. Can you tell us and explain what they do, please?
Yeah, so Repurpose Global are an organisation who help companies to support projects in developing countries that take waste out of the environment. So what we did with them was we looked at the amount of plastic that we purchase every year. We use plastic, and then we also use glass. And a lot of the plastic we use is recycled, but we looked at our entire plastic consumption, including the recycled plastic. And we partnered with them to support a project that takes twice as much plastic as we buy in a year out of the environment. The plastic project that we chose is in India, and they work on multi-layer plastic that gets used in things like sachets. And we felt that that was very appropriate because that's something that the beauty industry contributes to overall. And although we've started making sachets which are mono material, they're made of only of polypropylene, and they can be either incinerated or recycled in specialist facilities, which is the best we can find at the moment. There's lots of beauty companies who use these multi-layer films, which are really impossible to recycle. And this project in India helps to remove those from the environment. So because we've taken twice as much plastic out of the environment as we make, we can use a badge which says that we're plastic negative.
Wow. Okay.
That's our big sort of project that we've been working on. And then as well as that, we've done things like we've launched zero plastic refills for some of our glass packaging. So you can buy a refill for your product without the pump on the top, with just a little aluminium transport cap, and you can use the pump that you've already used if you've had that product before.
Do you think that refills are the future for all beauty brands?
I think that refills are fantastic and we want to use them more. So we've started off trying to find ways that people can do refills at home so that they're not sending things back to us, because of course that creates more carbon for them to come to us. We've also been looking into whether we can wash and reuse packaging, but we haven't found a sanitary way of doing that. And we think if you can reuse, it's better than recycling and refilling. So we're looking at the different options, and we're starting off with refills, and then we're going to see what else is possible. We also know that because we make things in small batches, we actually we create less waste than other beauty businesses. I don't have numbers on what other beauty businesses do, but what I understand is that sometimes products get produced and they never even get sold. They end up in landfill. And actually, we have an outlet store. So if there are any short dated products, which, for example, we might get back from a customer, one of our wholesale customers, if they end up sending some products back for any reason, we'll sell those to end customers, even if they have a shorter life on them. And we'll tell customers, yes, this still has a decent shelf life for you to use. And we'll give them a discount so that we can actually create as little waste as possible.
Yeah, it's quite shocking to learn that actually, that old stock is being sent to landfill, and that happens quite a lot. And how are you helping your customers to learn how to recycle more of their empty beauty products at home, Laura?
So we've got a really extensive section of the website which explains how to recycle your packaging. What you need to do is to separate it into all of its component parts, and almost all of them can be recycled in your household waste. So your glass bottles can, your cartons can, and your plastic bottles can. The tricky thing at the moment is the pumps. And the reason that pumps are hard to recycle, and also the reason that you can't find them made out of recycled plastic, is because they're precision molded components, and they have a little spring inside, which means that they can't easily be recycled. They can be recycled, but they aren't collected by local authorities. And that's why we've set up our Dump the Pump campaign and had the idea of doing these zero plastic refills. And what we'd like to do is to find ways to eliminate pumps altogether. So that's sort of a longer term plan, or look for pumps that can be recycled or have springs, but this is not a solved issue. I think in the next few years, it will become something that where there are more options available, because I think a lot of businesses are asking, and we're asking our suppliers, what can you do to reduce this single-use plastic?
Yeah, because you're looking at your entire range being circular in the next few years, aren't you? So that's reuse, recycle, regenerate, absolutely everything.
That's right. And the other thing we'd like to do, we're talking to our retail partners about offering bulk refill schemes, because it's something we can make as a business with real flexibility in our manufacturing. We can make a big bottle of something that could then sit in a refill store, and our plans on that have been slightly delayed because of the pandemic, but we are in conversations already with some of our retailers about doing that, so that people can wash their own bottle and bring it to store, and it means that the bottle doesn't have to travel around to be refilled. So that's another thing that we'd really like to do as well.
Okay, and what tips can you give to other companies on where to start with zero waste?
I think it's important to start with the simple things first. There are lots of really, really complex ways of solving this, and I think what's important is to make sure you're doing all the easy things, the quick win things. So it is possible to find recycled plastic packaging bottles now, so make sure you're using those. And glass is an amazing material from a recyclability perspective. It's not so good from a carbon footprint perspective because it's quite heavy, so there's a bit of a trade-off. So do all the simple things and make it easy for customers to know what to do in the home, because one of the statistics we've found is that although people recycle a lot of their household waste, because the beauty waste isn't in that kitchen and there isn't a recycling bin, it just gets put in the bathroom bin. And actually it's not actually necessarily the availability of the recycling, it's just helping to try and change people's habits and help them think about it.
Exactly. So on to the kind to all section then. So it's important to you as a company to respect, to be kind and give back to people and animals as you do business. Now, your products are vegan and made without animal testing, and you're also aiming to obtain the Leaping Bunny certification this year. What does the Leaping Bunny stand for?
Yeah, so I'm just going to flip to that bit of my presentation because mine's in a slightly different order, but that's not a problem.
Okay.
Leaping Bunny is a certification that guarantees that neither the products nor the ingredients have been animal tested since a certain cutoff date. So our cutoff date is 2013, and that is a standard that we're working towards. So we had to collect that certification from every single one of our ingredient suppliers, so 180, and we're in the middle of doing that work. So we do not do any animal testing, and we are just now completing the paperwork for that. We also have our Vegan Society certification for the bulk of the Evolve range now. And we're hoping to get the rest of that. All of the products are vegan. It's just making sure that we have all of the paperwork together for the Vegan Society so that we can get that for all of the remaining products. And then the other things that we've done so far, this is quite a sort of a broad impact topic. So it covers wellness of our customers. We've been producing a lot of information about wellness. And we've created products this year. We've actually been donating to the NHS. We donated £35,000 of products this year. In terms of diversity, there's a little bit about what our position on that here. So we actually have 12 different nationalities working in our business. We pay everybody a living wage, and we don't have 0 hours contracts. The majority of people in the business of women, so it's women-led and owned by me, and I've been mentoring BAME women to help support them becoming beauty entrepreneurs, and we've introduced a new hiring policy this year so that we can reduce any unconscious bias in our hiring process. So across the board, we're trying to do the right thing, be kind to all, respect. And what we really want to do next is to have more information about our supply chain. So as we start digging into where all the ingredients come from around the world to do our carbon footprinting, what we really want to make sure is that there are no ethical issues in our supply chain. Our supply chains are quite opaque, and I'm transparent about the fact that I wish we had more information already about exactly where everything comes from and how everything is grown. And that's where we'd really like to move forward. And I think it's where the industry needs to go next.
Yeah, amazing. So because you want total transparency on workers' rights.
Exactly. That's what we would really like to get to in this area, so that we can be really sure that there is wherever we know that there are ethical issues, like in the mica supply chain, where there's sometimes been reports of child labour, we've made sure that our mica is fairly traded. But what I would really like to do is to have a guarantee that there's no other ethical issues in any other area.
Absolutely. Okay, so on to protecting biodiversity then. Can you just start off by explaining why soils are a crucial ecosystem and how conventional farming can actually damage soil health?
Yeah, so a little bit like how our gut is a really diverse ecosystem and it really supports our physical wellness, the soil is a really diverse ecosystem as well. So it contains many different microbes, and the health of the soil is sort of influenced by all of the inputs into it. So, the soil has evolved over billions of years to be this flourishing community of all these different organisms and things that create this amazing soil that supports all of us in, with agriculture. And when we use pesticides and other chemicals on the soil, we change that. And the health of our soil has been declining. The amount of minerals in our soil has been declining as well. And so conventional agriculture, doing monocrops, and I'm no expert on this, is something that can impact our soil. But what we understand is that if you don't have as many pesticides when you grow organic ingredients, it really helps to enhance biodiversity. And so that's one of the reasons that I am so keen on organic farming and using as many organic ingredients as possible. So that's really important to us. And then, of course, the other big thing on biodiversity is all about palm oil.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so palm oil is shockingly, well, it's used in 70% of personal care products, and it's another major source of a source of deforestation, isn't it, and biodiversity loss.
That's right. Yeah. My understanding about this, again, I'm not a super expert on this, but my understanding is that diverse rainforest terrain is razed to the ground and then replaced with monocrop palm oil forests. Don't have the same degree of biodiversity in them, and that's bad for the planet, but it was also bad for the animals that live in the normal rainforest areas. So what we're trying to do is to switch all of our palm oil to the responsible palm oil certification, RSPTO. We're nearly there. We've only got 2 ingredients now that we're working to phase the sustainable palm oil out. And we're hoping that we'll be able to, we may even be able to do it before 2023, but we want to make sure that all of our sources are responsibly sourced, and wherever we can, we don't use palm oil at all. So more and more ingredients are now coming on board as palm oil free. What we need to make sure is that the ingredients that are used to replace the palm oil, so say that's coconut palms, it themselves harvested and grown responsibly, so it doesn't just switch the problem to a different crop.
Yeah. So why is palm oil so popular?
Because the yield, I think, for the fatty acids that get used in many different raw materials in cosmetics and lots of food products is really high. So it's a very productive crop. And I think you can get the triglycerides that come from palm oil from other things as well, so from coconuts and things. But I think that palm oil is very productive. So it's a very useful crop that's used in many things. And so it's important to make sure that we use it responsibly and don't use it, if we can avoid it, that whatever we switch to doesn't just kind of move the problem around to a different area.
Absolutely, yeah. So in terms of Cosmos Organic, what does Cosmos Organic Certified mean?
So this is the standard, the organic standard that we've been certifying all of our products on. So in the last 12 months, we've had a huge project. Cosmos is a European-wide organic and natural standard, and we work with EcoCert. So on Wednesday, EcoCert are going to be joining us to go through this in lots of detail. What I love about Cosmos is the fact that every single ingredient is screened across the board. So we're looking for any questionable ingredient, contaminants, synthetics that we know might potentially be harmful to humans or the ecosystem, any solvents. And some of these things are hidden. So it's not always easy to see it as a ingredient cosmetic designer. When I'm looking for ingredients, I can't always see that a solvent's been used. It doesn't show up on the ingredients list. So it's actually really getting into the real specifics of those ingredients. So you have to fill in a very, very detailed questionnaire, and they want to make sure that all the ingredients have been produced using green chemistry principles. So in a very, very eco-friendly and sustainable production system. There is a screening for the responsible palm and for making sure all the ingredients are sustainable as well. And then as well as all of those screens, which are both for the organic and the natural Cosmos standard, to reach the higher level, the organic standard, you have to have a certain amount of organic material in the product. And all of that is really clearly and transparently written on the labels of the products. So it's a fantastic standard. It's the gold standard of organic certification.
Yeah. Okay, amazing. So in terms of your paper cartons, why are you switching from, or have you switched from paper to grass?
So we're about to switch from paper to grass because grass is a very fast growing material. And so it doesn't have such an impact on the planet as trees do because they're much slower growth. So it reduces land use. It's also very beneficial. We already mentioned it before when we talked about carbon. So for carbon, for water usage, for just land use in general, it's a really low impact material. And so we're going to be moving to that later in the year. It also looks really beautiful. So we really love the way that we're moving from craft paper, which is already FSC certified, to this new grass paper, which when we do this, we'll keep you all posted. It will be hopefully in the next 6 months.
Okay, I've just had a question about being Cosmos certified. Why aren't all products from all brands Cosmos certified? I guess it's because it's so difficult.
So it's quite a long process, and you have to pay, of course, to join the standard. And so not every brand chooses to do that. For us, we think it's really important to have an independent verification of our values, and it helps us as well, because it means that when we're choosing new materials, we can say, is this Cosmos certified? And it's a shortcut in a way for us to know that something's already meets our standards. Yeah. But every brand is different, and not every ingredient can be Cosmos certified. So there's a couple of places where we've chosen to use an ingredient that can't be Cosmos certified. We've recently launched a product that has a vitamin C in it, and although it is a natural material, it hasn't got Cosmos certification, and we've still chosen to use it because we think it's really beneficial. And we've done our own checks on it to make sure that we're happy with the naturalness of it. So it's not always appropriate for absolutely everything, but we've chosen to use it for the majority of our products wherever we can.
Okay, now on to clean chemistry. So can you tell us what are questionable ingredients, and why are they potentially harmful? I mean, that's a sort of a big question there.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of different ones, and sometimes it's not necessarily the ingredients, it's when they're combined in products. And they can create byproducts. So for example, there's a set of materials which are ethoxylated. So there's a process that they go through. So something like SLES, sodium lauryl sulfate, which is ethoxylated, and we don't use it. It will, when it gets combined with other materials that are often found in cosmetics, it can create some potentially carcinogenic compounds. It isn't something that you find in either the sodium lauryl sulfate or in the other things. It's just when they get together that they can create these contaminants. So what EcoCert and Cosmos have done is to really look carefully at the different processes that could potentially be used as a solvent or extraction method, and then they've thought about this. Anything that is definitely harmful, so for example lead or something like that, is already not allowed. So we're not talking about stuff that's definitely got a carcinogen in it or something like that, because we're lucky in Europe that actually many of those materials are banned. So we're super lucky that our cosmetics are already really, really safe. This gives the customers an additional level of peace of mind if they want to avoid potentially questionable ingredients, where maybe the data isn't strong enough yet for the authorities to have done anything about it, but people want to make sure that their products are avoid those materials.
Yeah. And then in terms of the packaging, so you use PET and PP plastics in your packaging. As this plastic doesn't produce harmful byproducts in contact with your products, which plastics should people look out for here?
So a lot of the plastics, a lot of the things that make plastics bendy can be quite harmful. So the things that go into some of the vinyl plastics can be quite harmful. So sometimes I don't know if there's a children's toy or something like that, and it has that sort of funny plastic smell when you get it out of its packaging, that type of plasticizer often has phthalates in it, which is a funny word, phthalates, and that can be harmful. And even some of the rigid plastics, which relate to vinyl, can be harmful, because the oils that you get in cosmetic products start reacting. Because the plastics themselves can be oil-based, and then you end up with potentially small amounts of the plastics in the oils. And a lot of plastics can be hormone modifiers when they end up in the body, so they're called endocrine disruptors. So it's really good to try and avoid, in products, so in things like nail varnish and hairsprays, which we don't make anyway, so we're unlikely to have phthalates in our products, but we're also making sure that they aren't in our packaging materials.
Yeah, amazing. I've just had a question here about recycling and packaging. I have read that black plastic is difficult for recycling machines to pick up. One of my concerns with Evolve is the moisturizer and face mask lids. can they be recycled?
They can be recycled. So I think when we're talking about packaging, the preference would be for all of the plastic to be a light colour, because it makes it easier to then use it for other materials. When the materials are recycled, actually, sometimes making them a darker colour enables you to use some of those, because when you look at recycled plastic, it isn't normally, if you think about milk bottles, you know, they're clear, but then you have blue tops and red tops and all the different color tops. So when you actually get the recycled material, it looks a bit gray. And so when you're using that in products to make something else, you don't necessarily want that color. Actually, having a recycled black lid is one way of using some of that recycled material up. And the same is true with our brown bottles, which are made of recycled PET. That plastic without any color in it would be kind of like a greeny gray color. So again, it may not be something that people would like, but then if you make it an amber color, then effectively we're upcycling some of those materials by creating them. I think that it is possible for the materials to pick up plastics, and they've used lots of different technologies to pick up different types of plastic. The important thing is that they don't recycle anything that's smaller than about that big. So one of the things we realized recently, we had these little tiny plastic jars for our samples, and we thought they were recyclable. And then when we learned more about recycling, we realized that they were just too small to be picked up by the recycling machines. And that's one of the reasons that we moved to our new single layer sachets.
Okay. So I've just had another question as well. How do you explain the impact of these ingredients to your less educated consumers? Would you agree that a lack of knowledge or awareness is the reason consumers choose alternatives?
I think that my experience over the last 15 years is that customers have become really well informed, and it is quite confusing when there are so many ingredients and it's hard to tell whether something is natural if you're looking for a natural material by looking at the ingredients list, because on the ingredients list, the INCI, all of the materials have their Latin names. And so as a consumer, you're looking at all of these really long names thinking, well, I don't know which of these are natural and which of these aren't natural. I think that a standard like Cosmos helps to give the customers a peace of mind reassurance that somebody else has done all that legwork for them. And it's an independently verified standard that they can go and check. They can then, you know, if they're happy with that standard, they want to buy things with that standard, they can then go and check, you know, look for the mark, look for the certification, and that gives them the peace of mind. It doesn't mean they have to understand the ins and outs of everything Cosmos has asked, because Cosmos has done that work for them. But they might also be interested in understanding, you know, some of the major things that standard is relates to.
Okay. Now, in terms of water, I'm just wondering what the future of water is looking like. Because when you switch to grass paper for your cartons, you'll save 99% of water use relative to traditional paper production. Is that right?
That's right. And I think that, you know, in the UK, it doesn't seem very relevant to need to save water because we have so much rain in our whole ecosystem. But even in the UK, we have water shortages sometimes in the summer. And across the globe with climate change, we know that water scarcity is going to be one of the really big problems this century. And so making products which have lower water is something that all of the beauty industry is looking at, and there are lots of benefits to it. So one of them is to just reduce the use of this scarce ingredient or resource. But the other thing is that if you can make more concentrated products that don't have water, you might be able to reduce the packaging. So if you can make a solid product, for example, or a product that's very concentrated, you can add water in at home, there might be a benefit in terms of moving this around. It might be cheaper to package, it might be to create less carbon to get the product to the customer. So that's something we're really interested in looking into. How can we create solid products? So we have a few projects in that area, so watch that space. We produce our own water, so we don't move water around, which is important. We have a purification plant. I say plant, it's not huge, but it makes reverse osmosis water. So we don't move water from place to place, but we do still use water in a lot of our products.
Amazing. And then finally, so you hope to become certified B Corp. What does that mean? Because it's obviously, it's like the highest standards.
Yes, so that's part of our overall central transparency and sustainability goals. So B Corp is an independent verification that the business has thought about more than just profit when it's thinking about all of its decisions. So we know that we've got an impact across our supply chain. We've got a number of different stakeholders. We've got our team. We've got all of the lives of the people who are impacted by the work that we do, the ingredients that are grown and all of those things. And we want to apply for B Corp certification. We don't have it yet. So this is an ambition for this year. And transparency is really one of the things that the B Corp movement is all about. So, you know, by producing this report, by creating this seminar series, it's helping us show that, you know, we are worthy of becoming a B Corp, hopefully. So watch that space, and hopefully if we do a good job, we'll be able to get our certification.
That's so exciting, Laura. So I've got one more question here. Does anybody have any other questions? We've got a few minutes left until the end. So if you have any questions for Laura, please send them over. Laura, you say that a goal is to be 95% Cosmos certified by 2023. What happens after that? Is that all of your goals met, or?
So in terms of clean chemistry, I think it's our big goal, because I think that the Cosmos standard is such a sort of an overarching part of our sort of drive to make our products the cleanest and most organic and natural that they can be. So that would be, I mean, that's basically the other half of our big project towards getting all of our products Cosmos. I'm sure there'll be other things that come along in that process. So the idea of making more solid products to reduce water usage and things will come along as well, I think, in that area.
Okay, brilliant. Does anybody else have any questions? No. Well, congratulations, Laura. That's just so brilliant. And you must be so proud of the company.
I'm super proud of everyone who's been involved, and I just want to say thank you, because it was an enormous team effort to get all of this mapping done and the report written, and a lot of different people in my wonderful team helped make it happen, as well as lots of experts who really helped us. And I just wanted to share the rest of our plans for the week, because we've got a series of 4 more different sessions. I'm just going to show one more slide to show you that. So we have a lunchtime series. So tomorrow we're going to be talking to Dominic from Repurpose and Beth from Plastic Freedom. So Dominic has helped us with our plastic negative certification, and Beth is an amazing partner retailer of ours whose stocks evolve, who is, you know, on a mission to reduce packaging waste. So it's going to be all about waste. On Wednesday, we're going to be talking to Dylan, who's been working with me for 15 years, who's my amazing head of products, who helps me with all of the product development that we do. And she's been spearheading the certification project with Cosmos, and Pauline from Cosmos will be joining us to deep dive into the Cosmos certification, what's that all about. And then on Thursday, we're going to be talking to Charlotte and Lorenzo. So Charlotte helps us with all of our mapping, and Lorenzo is from Earthly, and they helped us with our carbon offsetting. So we're going to be talking all about carbon, about what we've done to reduce our carbon, and then a little bit more generally about, you know, what does carbon footprinting mean, and how do you even think about carbon, how to reduce it. And then on Friday, I'm going to be talking to John Grant, who is an amazing thinker and an author, and someone who's been helping us in many different areas, and also a good friend of mine who I've known for a long time. And we're going to be talking generally about ethical business, a little bit about things like B Corp and all of the kindness impacts area, and more generally about ethical business and how you set one up, and, you know, what does it mean to be an ethical business. So that's our plan for the rest of the week. So if you want to sign up to any more of the sessions and you haven't done so yet, if you go to our website, to our main website, and then to pages, and then to sustainability-summit, you can sign up for all of these sessions, and you need to pre-register like you did for this session. So I am super really grateful to everybody who has been on this session, and particularly to Lisa, who has been such an amazing moderator. And
no, it's been fascinating. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, it was just really lovely. I really enjoyed it. And if anyone has any other questions that they didn't want to ask now, do please get in touch, because we're always here. We're still a small business, and you will get a person on the end of an email who will answer any questions that you have. So it's been really a pleasure to share everything we've done with you all. And I hope to see you at some of the other sessions.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye.